Hey, y'all. Welcome back to season 5 of the Black Woman Behold podcast.
And this year's theme is Unleashed.
This is more than a theme, it's a declaration.
We're pulling back the layers, letting go of what no longer serves us.
We're letting go of outdated roles, false narratives, unspoken rules that kept us small, and expectations we never agreed to.
And we're naming the shifts Black women can make to feel more seen, more centered, and more free.
We're reclaiming our time, our energy, and our joy. Talking about the shifts Black women can make, a moment to unlearn, unravel, and unapologetically create a life that feels like yours. And because we don't just talk about it,
each episode is packed with tips, resources, and reflection prompts to help you turn insight into action
so that you can carry these conversations off the podcast and into your real life.
We're expanding and building lives that feel whole, honest, and free. We're Unleashed. Welcome back to season 5 of the Black Woman Behold podcast. And we're your hosts, Marquia, Ednesha, and Kim, and we are Unleashed.
Yes, always.
The long-awaited episode number 12 of season 5, titled Unleash Your Flexibility. And I know.
We've been flexible, y'all.
I know.
Look how long we've been going. We've been flexible.
Thank you for your flexibility and your patience.
It has been quite the hiatus. And despite us trying to make it through the season with minimal interruptions, we had a good run for 12 episodes, y'all.
We did. I was so
we
proud
had a
of
good
us.
run. We did. We did our best. Life always has a way of sneaking up on us and making things a little tricky. And I want to say, I feel like it's always in that same pocket of time that things get so hectic and there's just a boom. So from career changes to death, everyday life, you name it, and someone between the three of us has experienced it. So as always, we thank you for hanging in there and being understanding, and also understanding that we are human too. And although we retired this tagline last season, we are still Black women working on being whole. So,
oh yeah,
thank y'all.
That may never get retired. Actually,
we might just stop playing ourselves. Just be honest.
We just gonna have to keep saying that. But today, because we made you wait so long, we have a very special treat for you.
Yes.
We have a guest. Aren't you excited? And her name is Fanny Tristan. She is at Restorative Space and Her Soul Supply, both located in New York City. Quick aside, Fanny and I met at an event on International Women's Day, and we clicked and we had a good little vibe, found out that we are both older sisters, and it was just a really good time. So I'm very excited to have her join us today. And before we get all the way into introducing Fanny, we're going to check in with my ladies, but also with Fanny. So, ladies, how's everybody feeling?
Oh, I guess okay.
Okay. I know we were talking hungry before.
I haven't eaten, y'all. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel. But yeah, I just got a little protein and I got some water. Yeah, we're going to get through it.
Today's the day.
Not today's the day. Fanny, how you feeling, girl? Excited, nervous?
Good. Feeling good. It's nice and cool and warm and temperate outside. It's I've had a good, perfect weather kind of day. So I'm good for the rest of the night.
Fanny, you got that nice soothing voice.
Right. Isn't she good?
Hey, girl. Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We over here
maybe I might not feel hungry anymore talking with you.
I should have talked her out of hunger. So, ladies, what have you been working on since we were last together? And our new friend Fanny, what have you been working on? So let's start with Kim.
Oh, Kim, what you been working on?
You know what? I've been working on so much, y'all. Menopause is whooping my ass. So I'm really trying to just live my life, be a Thundercat, because I'm outside with them, honey. Doing a lot of work that I didn't anticipate. So I'm trying to manage not being overwhelmed, find my spaces for reflection and kind of quiet, not doing the greatest of jobs. And so this is where I am. This is my season of busy, busy, busy. And I'm okay with it. It'll end by the end of summer and I'll be in a better place. But that sounds like a lie because I'm always getting myself into something. So I'm not even 5 minutes in. I'm lying.
Not lying, girl. Ednesha, what's going on?
I think I've been spending a lot of time thinking about my capacity. God damn it. What do I have capacity for? Right? Having a business, being a therapist. And I've been supervising a lot of clinicians. So for a couple months, I supervised maybe like 6 clinicians, right? So that was just like a lot in and of itself. And I think just trying to figure out what part of all of my jobs do I really love, right? And figuring out which part I love and what should I be doing more of. So I think that's been really cool. But what I'm about to be working on right now is nothing. It's summer. Listen, that's what I'm working on right now is
Being
nothing.
outside.
Yes, I'm being outside. That's what I'm working on. I'm still a therapist. I'm still all those things. But I guess this probably doesn't sound good. I'm taking it seriously, but yeah, nah, I'm chilling. The brain wants to just chill a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna just chill for at least the next month or two. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm working on. Nothing.
Okay.
Yes.
Miss Fanny.
Yeah, what have I been working on? Well, this is a bit silly, but I've been working on what I'm going to do for my birthday
That
because
is not
That is
silly,
not
girl.
silly.
We are
Hold up.
birthday people over here.
Wow, hold
Birthday
on.
people, we
Well, you're
celebrate
talking to
birthdays
3
over
Black
here.
women, and you
I'm
talking
very
about
serious
that's not a
about
big
it.
deal.
We are
You
very
should
serious
be.
about it as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like I wear many hats, and I've worked so hard to try to be whole, right? And like all
Yeah.
these different parts of my life, right? Like I have my professional life and I have some wonderful colleagues and community in my work there and family and friends and, just having a relationship with my daughter and, watching her grow. And it's like, how do I celebrate all the sides of me, right? Like I don't want to just have a night out with the girls or a family dinner, right? Like, how do I really celebrate this? Especially, my birthday's on the solstice. So, longest day of the year, I feel like there's a
Girl.
lot of opportunity.
Yes, that's
Yes.
amazing.
Oh my
What day is
goodness.
that exactly,
That's
Fanny?
June
Friday.
21st. June
Oh, so
21st
Okay.
okay.
is Sunday. So, every few years it lands on Father's Day. So, that's part of the complication because, there's a lot
Okay.
of
Okay.
things going on.
That's
Oh, I
okay.
love this. I hope that
Listen,
you
I'm like,
choose
take a
something
solo
amazing
trip.
for your
Go
birthday.
Said,
away.
I's the pappy too. That's it.
Um,
As a happy.
what have I been working on? Surviving, Jesus Christ. That's really where I'm at. Honest answer. A lot of things have been happening. A lot of just, wow. Life is consistently unpredictable. I will say that. And learning how to navigate through those things is really hard. So I am surviving. That's what I got. That's what I'm working on. And then what are you looking forward to for the second half of 2026, Ednesha?
Okay, so after I finish doing nothing,
Right.
I'm really excited about doing more work around menopause and perimenopause, particularly with Black and brown women. So it actually has become a niche in my practice, working with women in perimenopause and menopause, and also going through that stage of life myself. What I realize is that a lot of us have little to no information. We just don't receive a lot of information. So I think many of us are suffering in silence, kind of questioning ourselves, wondering why we're feeling what we're feeling, not realizing, why our hormones are like doing what they're doing. So I really want to kind of start interviewing Black and brown women about their experience in perimenopause and menopause and just kind of asking the question, what do you wish you knew that would have helped you kind of get through it? And I just think there's so much wisdom in our lived experiences. So I want to kind of do that. And I got to find like a videographer. I probably get Kim to do it because, she's had a lot of jobs in her day. And I just kind of want to create a space for our stories and kind of tell our stories. So I'm excited about that. That's something new I've thought up. So let's see if I can actually get this shit done. I'll keep y'all posted and let y'all know what
Adding
happens.
another job. Oh, okay.
Right. Did Kim consent?
I want
Um,
women to feel less alone and really be prepared about what's ahead. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, we'll
awesome.
see.
And Fanny, what are you looking forward to for the second half after we get through your birthday celebration, friend, which we can't wait to hear
Yes.
about?
That one.
Yes. So I actually am just off of a wonderful weekend. I mean, a lot of things happened in New York this past weekend,
Mhm.
but
Yes.
I
Okay,
also,
sorry.
yeah, right?
Look.
Go Knicks. So I feel like I just have been riding off this high of this mixer that I threw for my therapist friends because,
Oh, that's
yeah,
cute.
yeah,
I
I've
might
been,
need to
this
get
is
on the list. But go
Yes,
ahead. We'll talk
please
later.
do. Yeah. Well, because I realize that, therapists, especially if you're in private practice and you're trying to run your business, like it can be really isolating, but also we don't, we never get together and have fun. Like it's always like, oh, continuing ed thing here or a conference or a networking event. And networking can be fun, but I hosted a game night
I
Oh, that
love
sounds
And
really
that.
fun.
I love it.
we were just screaming playing Uno and, playing all sorts of different games. And, I think everybody really needed it. And I think I'm going to spend the rest of this year really percolating on what a community, like an actual organized community, can be for therapists that isn't about kind of the academics of it all or the clinical part of it all, but for it really to be about connection with each other, because that's the soul work, and how we end up doing what we do is because of people and
Yes.
connection, our love of people. And we don't always have that place to get to love up on each other. And so I'm going to be spending the second half of this year really figuring out how to serve my community in that way.
I so want in, Fanny. So I'm excited.
Mhm.
Keep you
We love
posted.
it. We
Yes,
love when a plan
please.
comes
I
together.
love it. I love
Miss
it.
Kim.
You know what? I'm gonna just be real with y'all.
Uh-oh.
After all this work
Just
is
do
done,
it. Do it.
I might just be hoeing. I might just be hoeing for the year.
Girl.
I might just be, not in the summertime, but in the fall, the winter. Oh, some
Cuffing
travel.
season.
I'm telling
Hmm.
you,
I
perimenopause
don't
will
want to
have
be
your libido
cuffed. I don't
on
want to
a
be cuffed.
thousand. You will be
I don't want to
like
be
a
cuffed.
21-year-old boy. Like
I
it's
don't want to be
crazy.
cuffed right now. I'm good. I'm good. Just might be hoeing. I don't, just let's stay tuned.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
be saying a lot of shit
TBD.
that I don't do though. I have great intentions. So we'll see.
Okay. I like
I mean,
that.
there's no limit to a host season. So,
Right.
Right. I
Listen,
think
I
Right.
like
everybody thinks
odd
you're
number
supposed to do it in
years.
your
Odd number
20s.
years are my best kind of like years. Like I usually like, oh yes. I mean, even number years, like, yes, 2024, 2026, 2028. Oh, hey, let's
Okay. So
go.
these are your
So
numbers. Those are
let's
your
do
years. Okay. I support, find your joy, my boo. I love it. For me, what am I looking forward to? Hopefully things settling down. I'm doing a lot of things. I'm really working on building my business slash empire. We're gonna call it an empire because
Come
it
on.
has
That's
to
right.
be. It has in light of the last 6 months, that is the only option. So we're working on making this into something that's really gonna be something big. So my hope is that we'll start to see some of those seeds yield after all of the work that's been put in these last few months.
get the fruit, girl.
Yeah, thanks, girl, for listening. Yeah, poor Kim. Lots of tears. But yes, so thank you all for participating in that part. So let's get started. Okay, y'all. I don't know about you, but 2026 has been quite the ride. These last 6 months have felt like 6 years. From dealing with all the antics of the current administration to unexpected changes in the workplace, reevaluating words if the path I'm on is the right one, to losing multiple family members, my friends circle getting smaller and smaller to the point it's a dot. 2026 has been whooping my ass. I'm only speaking for me. I don't know about everybody else. And if I'm being honest, at times it has been extremely hard to keep the faith. But the through line in all of this is that change happens whether you accept it or not. And as many of you may or may not know, I'm the Scorpio of the group, the zodiac lady of the group. I'm also a firstborn daughter. And when you have fixed placements, it's really difficult to navigate abrupt changes. It often causes extreme anxiety. And it's been a hell of a time. But what I'm learning slowly is that being flexible is really the key to make it through these things. There really is something to the saying that the only thing constant is change. But how do you prep yourself mentally to handle these things when the script goes out the window? I don't have an answer for you in this moment, but I am looking forward to exploring this with my ladies and, of course, our guest, Fanny. So, before we dive in fully to our conversation, I want to introduce today's guest, Fanny Tristan. Fanny Tristan, LCSWR, is a trauma therapist, coach, and founder of Restorative Space, a psychotherapy practice that helps eldest daughters release perfectionism, very relatable, and build healthier relationships with themselves and others. She's also the founder of Her Soul Supply, a coaching platform and social community where she creates room for healing, expansion, and meaningful connection, inviting women to choose themselves and move forward with intention. As a Black Latina mother and first generation daughter, Fanny combines clinical insight with heart centered leadership through coaching, workshops, retreats, and curated gatherings. Her work helps women unlearn survival, honor their capacity, and lead with authenticity across every area of their lives. So, welcome, Fanny girl.
Hey,
Clap, clap, clap,
Fanny,
thank
clap,
you.
my
clap, clap,
Hey,
clap.
Fanny. Welcome, welcome,
Aw,
welcome.
thank you. So
You are
happy to
so
My,
be here
welcome.
with y'all
my fellow
tonight.
LCSW in the house. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
We are happy to have you, girl. And we always gotta offer you a little suggestion. Maybe there's something that you want to buy. Rolling with the punches is hard. especially when you seem to consistently catch a two-piece and a biscuit at the hands of life. Let me tell you, girl. Ooh,
Wow, a
bob and
two-piece
weave
and a biscuit.
and a biscuit. Between the knots and the bobbing and weaving, it's a great time to take out your playbook and find some calm. Maybe there's some coloring, some journaling that will help you work through those feelings, or maybe writing down thoughts that could help you become the start of your next plan. If you don't have your Black Woman Be Whole playbook, you can definitely go on the website at blackwomanbewhole.com/store to get your copy and get to work.
That one.
Y'all was into my little commercial.
Hi.
Awesome. All right, ladies. I'm going to ask you to get a little vulnerable today as we talk about rolling with the punches. And if at any point in time you don't have an answer, you don't want to share, you feel free to say, I don't want to do that. Or you can offer a fictitious example in the interim. Deal?
I
Sounds
feel it. Or
good.
just
Awesome.
say you don't
Yes.
have it. We don't have to be fictitious. I ain't got
Right.
it.
Well,
Somebody
you
else
could
get
like maybe be like, I have a friend that was like,
it.
you know,
No, I'm good.
or I saw
I
it in
ain't
a
got
movie once. I don't know.
it.
But
Okay,
either
maybe like,
way.
such and such said.
Right. So when you think about it, what messages or conditioning have you received around things not going to plan as a young person? So Fanny, I'm going to ask you that first. Any thoughts on what that messaging looked like for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that the main message is that, well, you're not on track. You're not on
Mm,
track anymore. That, not being on track is not a good thing, right? That it would be irresponsible for you to not be making every effort to get back on track because bad things
Mm-hmm.
will happen, right? I think especially with the women that I work with, we're women who are in their 30s or more, and, they get a lot of scaremongering about, don't you want kids?
ugh,
Or,
Mm.
you need financial security. And a lot of the answers to that tend to be, well, are you going to get back to dating? Or, you broke up with your partner and everyone's devastated. And people start to look at you funny because they're like,
mhm,
you were on track, right? Like there's this
mhm,
whole kind of path and escalator that we're put on a lot of the times. But if you're not on that path, there's something wrong with you for not trying to get on that path again. I think if you don't show evidence of that, people think it's really problematic, right? Or there's a lot of concern about, why you're not on track, right? And so there's a lot of scrutiny, right, to things like your appearance or how you spend your time, what you do with your money, right? Oh, you're going
Mm,
on a
yeah.
lot of girl trips, right? Or why do you want to go on a trip by yourself? Shouldn't you be spending that time trying to partner up or be with the kids or be a family person and all of these things? And so I think people really struggle with the idea of women really charting their own paths.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we grow up, oftentimes really indoctrinated into a specific path of this is what, women of a certain age are like, what they do, what they think should be important, right? If you don't fall into that status quo or you reject that status quo, rightfully so, then you're seen as a problem, right? Like you don't have good judgment or you've had such misfortune when in reality, getting off that beating path is oftentimes a blessing.
girl. Mm.
Yeah.
You said a
Hello.
whole word right there.
Yeah, literally. And like it's so funny that you brought up the whole like people shaming you about being old and not having kids, right? Because and
Are
you
you
know
starting to
what?
get that, Marquia? Are they
Happy
coming for you?
wait, first and foremost, hey little Lenny, love you so much. So my
Hi,
big
little
cousin,
Lenny.
yes, my big cousin listens, and it was an anecdote that he shared during my uncle's funeral that this was one of the times he was proudest to be known as little Lenny. So, hey little Lenny. But on the flip side, at said funeral, not a cousin coming up to me talking about, shouldn't you be having a baby? You're 38. Like,
Mm,
where's your baby? And I was like, where's yours? Well, I'm
Mm.
younger than you. Okay, but you can produce. So if you want the baby, why can't you have the baby? Like, I'm confused. So it is a thing. And it's very interesting now because it wasn't, I guess, people weren't, I guess, like in my face about their feelings about it. Also, you could have like kept it to yourself in perpetuity. I didn't need to know how you felt about it. But it is very interesting to know, I guess, that this is what people are like murmuring in the background, right? I think my parents have evolved. There was a point in time when they're like, it has to be very stringent and strict. And then I like bucked the system and like was like, I'm gonna start a business and I'm gonna leave my state job. And my dad was like, girl, what are you doing? But now we're at a place where they're more understanding. But for certain, it was a lot of like, what's wrong with you. You don't have good decision making skills, all the things that you mentioned before. So I absolutely agree with you 100% on that. Kim, what do you think?
Hmm. I think I've got a different story. Like I grew up, I feel like free range. When you grew up in the 80s, they don't give a fuck about you. Just be home by the lights. That's
Hmm.
it. Like when the lights come on, be home. So I was a latchkey kid. So there wasn't I don't think there was a lot of expectation, right? Other than we talked about like don't bring a baby in, right? In the household when you're young. So I don't have that, which I think has been really helpful for me just kind of being out in the world. I mean, I have done the opposite of based on what people wanted me to do. Go to church, do this, do that. And it's like, man, fuck that. I'm outside. I'm doing stuff. Like, so I think for me, this is not as like a thing that's been put on me because, as I always tell people, like, it doesn't matter what age you are. People start over. You got to start over. You're not I started a relationship over. I had to start my life over. I had to, okay, this thing that I didn't get, I had a business and it didn't go. I had to start over. Now I've got another one. So I think that has never been a thing for me because I always believe I've been limitless. I can do whatever. And it doesn't matter what age I do it because there are examples of people. I saw this thing that said Vera Wang started her design line at like
Her
50
40s,
or
I think.
something.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it was like 40s or 50s, but it's just like, yeah, there are people out here doing things that defy the system or what they're supposed to be doing, that conditioning. And unfortunately, it's never been the women in my life that have modeled that for me. So I've had to go find it elsewhere. So I think, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Anisha?
I think it's really interesting when you grow up with a super optimistic kind of mom. My mom was super like glass half full. And so because of that, I actually think she wasn't hard enough. So the message that I received was like, okay, like if it didn't work out the way we planned, it was like, okay, try again. Like things will work out. She always believed that. And if it continued to not work out, there was always a belief that there was someone who could help you figure it out. So she always believed that there were so many great people around me. She's like, you got sisters, you got aunties, you got uncles. There's somebody out here who cares about you, who wants you to succeed. So you know what? If it doesn't work out, there's somebody out here to help you. I think the hard thing about me is because she wasn't very hard on me, I was super hard on myself. Right? Like she didn't really have certain expectations of me. It felt like whatever happened, she would be okay with. Like she was like, you know what? Like I love you kind of mom. Like whatever you do, it'll be fine. And I was like, what do you mean? Like I gotta get A's. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta. And
Hmm.
so like that has stayed with me. And funny enough, in therapy last week, my therapist was like, why are you so hard on yourself, Ednesha? My goodness. I said, because nobody else will. And my fear is that if I'm not hard on myself, that I'll just let shit happen. And I can't just let life happen to me, right? Like I want to be the best me possible. And I'm like, I can't like get lazy, right? And just be like, fuck it, right? I can't just let life happen to me and say, fuck it. So I have to kind of push myself. So, I mean, the messaging that I received that was like everything would be okay. But in my
Mhm.
head, it was like, it won't be okay. And then also there was this message about like, oh, just pray. And I was like, yeah, that's not enough also because I know
Hmm.
people who pray to God and they still don't get what they want. So it was like, I got to work harder and harder and harder. So I think that when things didn't go right, I didn't specifically blame myself, but I was like, I just got to keep trying harder.
Hmm.
And I put a lot of pressure on myself my whole life. And I still put pressure on myself today. I haven't learned how to be different. My fear is that if I don't put pressure on myself, then things won't get done. Yeah, I'm not that flexible. It's not pretty
She
sometimes.
said, long story short, I'm not that.
It's not pretty sometimes. It's
Hold on, let me
really
share
not.
flexibility. She
It's
said,
we're
now
still
I'm hearing it
working
out
on it.
loud.
We're still
When
working
shit
on
don't
it.
Flexible.
go wrong, right? Listen, you better
She
figure
be
it
having
out.
meltdowns. You be having meltdowns like,
My
wait, what's
mother
going
be like,
on?
it's all right, baby. It's not all right, Terry. It's not. Okay. And so,
Mm.
yeah, I think that that backfired her being too optimistic about shit. She is like she didn't realize that life was hard. What black girl?
And
I feel like we touched on this next question, but I'm going to ask it out in the ethos. As an adult, how do you feel when life violates your expectations? I phrase it that way because I had an English teacher in high school, and she always be like, "That
Violate. God
violated your
damn.
expectations, right?" So
That
you
was
had this thing,
real.
and then it just changed your perception, right? Anisha, it sounds like when life violates your expectation, it might
yes,
be a struggle. I don't know, based on what
I,
you just said.
sound like you
listen.
just answered that.
Right.
Listen, it is a struggle, right? And I think that my first reaction is probably a bit of disappointment, right? It's not because I mean, I am not that flexible all the time. But again, I tend to put a lot of thought into my decisions, y'all, and then my plans. So when like something changes unexpectedly, there's a moment where I think like, well, that's not what I expected. I kind of like, okay, this came later on. Well, what can I learn from this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I try to acknowledge the disappointment, kind of honor, whatever feelings are coming up. And then I'm always like, so what's the next step? I think I try not to spend a lot of time kind of fighting a reality, right? Like if this is what it is, then this is what it is. Now I got to figure out what's next, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't question like why me kind of thing, right? When
Mm-hmm.
life violates my expectations. I think it's more like, yeah, I'm disappointed, but what's next? Like I just kind of got to get up and I got to keep moving. I think there's always a fear in me if I stay in that feeling for too long
Mm-hmm.
that I won't get out. So
That's
I got
fair.
to push myself out and I got to be kind of swift with that shit and like let's move on. Let's see what's next.
Fanny.
Yeah, I mean, that was so well said, and something I think that I've had to learn this year, right? As I've tried to take bigger swings in my work and knowing that things are not going to turn out the way that I envision, even though I have a wonderful imagination, right?
The plan is
Um,
good though. The plan is
the plan
amazing.
always looks so good. It's like
Yes.
award winning. Okay, it's like an Oscar award winning movie in my head every time. I would call myself a recovering perfectionist. You
Okay.
know,
Mm,
I definitely have had to work on rolling with the punches, right? And I think that's why it really resonated with me what you were saying, because, anytime things didn't go to plan, I just had a very, I guess, to really tell on myself, like I had a real inflated understanding of what I could control. Like I just thought that if things didn't work out the way that I wanted them to, I just went inward. It was my fault, right? Either I didn't want it enough or I was too lazy, right? Which is a really toxic word. There should be no excuses for why I couldn't achieve what I wanted, or I should have taken more charge, right? And, I've had to really learn that there are so many elements that go into outcomes. And you could try your best at something, but there's no guarantees, right? Like nobody owes us anything,
That
like
part.
God
I love
has,
the no guarantees because it
right? There's no
sometimes feels like that
guarantee,
shit should be guaranteed.
right? Like God laughs when you're making plans, right? Like that's the quote is like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't beat myself up about something not working out because I wanted it really bad. Like who told you that wishing something so bad was going to make everything completely come true, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think the more I was able to accept that there are some things I can control, some things I can't control, I was able to really recover from disappointment
Mm,
a lot better and get to that place of, okay, so now I have new information, not necessarily information I wanted to receive, but it is in my face and I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to ignore it. And if I want things to get better, it's in my best interest not to ignore it. And so how do I make some lemonade? Because we're very good at making lemonade.
come
Yes.
on, girl.
Oh, we sure are. We sure are.
Yeah.
This is
It's sour
interesting.
lemons too.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Marquia, this is an interesting question because I
Mm-hmm.
I think for me I've been very good about like, okay, on to the next thing, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I've got a million and one ideas. And sometimes like, yeah, I can do them or just like I just thought about them. So I'm constantly coming up with things. Like I've got a book of ideas. Like if I were to pick one and do it, I'd be like, okay, great. So I think just it's about for me the journey versus the endpoint sometimes. So I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people are so focused on getting to that thing that they don't really focus on the learning along the way or the things you pick up. Like in the work that I've been doing most recently, I've met so many people. Like I was hugging and saying hi to everybody over this thing at Schaumburg. Like, oh, yo. People were stopping by to say hi to me, everything. So it just was like I've made relationships with people and the work that I'm doing. And so it's been really I think the journey for me feels more important than the end point because like you said, you can't control the end point. You can't control the goal. I may set out for this and a series of decisions may lead it to a different outcome that was better than what I thought because I didn't have enough information to know what that endpoint could look like. So going along the way and then kind of like hoping to get there, feels good too. And maybe the lesson should be you shouldn't have been doing that shit anyway. That wasn't for you to know. So go try something else. So
No,
here
I
we
don't
are.
disagree. When this year started, definitely meltdown. Like, what do you mean? I planned this out. It was supposed to go this way. in the process of, I mean, I think I'm just too tired to fight the changes at this point. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm like, oh, another thing going wrong. That's great. Love this. This is wonderful. We just have to figure out a way around it, through it, in order to make shit shake. So that's kind of been where I'm at these last few months. And speaking of the last few months, over the last 6 months, would you say is there a specific instance that would come to your mind where a plan you had in mind fell apart? What was your initial reaction and how did you embrace that change, Kim?
Yeah, shoot, I got one. So here we go. I started another initiative, right, in these last 6 months or more, and it hasn't gone like how I thought it would. And I realize it's because, I didn't do the due diligence, right? I didn't kind of like discern. I didn't ask the questions. I didn't do all the things that I needed to do to ensure the outcome, which you can never, control. And my initial reaction was anger, right? Because like I put all this money, effort, time, and
Mm,
and it made me go, this is why I like to do shit by myself because I can't rely on people. Because
mm,
that's kind of like the default. Like if I had been the one doing it, then it would have. But but if it wasn't set up properly in the beginning, then that's on me, right? What did I put in place to ensure that? And so I'm just like, it is what it is at this stage because there's nothing I can do. And I can either move on or make, like you said, the lemonade. But, I want to make a screwdriver at this point because, okay, I need some a little stronger.
that's fair. Fanny, what about you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think when I think about the last 6 months, I think at the top of the year, and I started this year so burnt out. Like I couldn't open my computer. I just felt paralyzed by my own work,
I
which
get
I
that.
never thought would happen because I'm my own boss. Right? Like no one's telling me what to
Mm,
do. But
mm.
I realized that I've probably been the most abusive boss I've ever had
I was about to say
because,
that. It's like,
yeah,
yes.
people think, because, and you're a therapist, like that's the dream. It's like you got your own private practice, you're your own boss, you run your own hours, you get to serve the people you really want to be serving. And then, when you run a business that's really heart-centered, that's really passion focused, like what work hours, what vacation time. You're doing everything that's just, from the heart. And I think if you don't have boundaries with yourself about work and, you know, what you're willing to sacrifice to reach your goals, right? I think that we end up going down a spiral of burnout, And so I think I really tried to do the whole like Q4, like end of the year, like drive it
Hmm.
home, you got these goals, like let's make it count, right? We all saw those messages. We were like,
Yes.
yeah,
Of course.
Q4,
Yes.
lock in
Right.
energy. That was
The
it. Yeah,
great
everyone
lock
was like,
in, the
lock
great lock
in. Yeah,
in.
everybody was
Yeah.
locking in. And I was like, I'm a
Kim.
lock
Wasn't Kim on
in. Oh my God, I
Kim,
was.
weren't you?
And then I locked in and then I had to lay down because I
Yeah.
couldn't do it
Wait.
anymore. Yeah.
The great
Hmm.
lock into the great lay down. I feel that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I think I had to take it as a learning opportunity of like, girl, you are a hypocrite. Like you sit here telling your clients all day long about giving themselves grace, about taking care of themselves, about doing all this stuff. And here you are burning the midnight oil trying to be a little, God knows what. Like I'm out here trying to just be exceptional for what,
Right.
I have nothing else to give, right? What I didn't realize is that it was driving me further from what I felt was the purpose of what I was doing, right? Was to be a good clinician and to be a great provider and to be present with my patients. And it's hard to do that when you're burnt out. It's hard to do that when you're distracted or you're worrying about all these other things. And so I had to stop. I had to pause and, just really reevaluate what was important and starting to think about, okay, what are the things that I can start to do to simplify my life? Right? Because it's not about just turning around and leaving it all behind. It's about, okay, well, maybe this is the pause that I needed so I can zoom out and see how I can just make things a lot more simpler for myself and remember that I'm the best person to know what to do with my work and my life,
Mm.
right? No matter who is saying what the loudest on Instagram, right? Like I have
Right.
to. I know what's best for my business. I know what's
100%.
best for the people that work with me, and what they need and what they feel like is best for them. And I need to go with that.
Like
Hmm.
that.
Thank you for your honesty, Fanny, because there is this thought that therapists got all this shit together. And it's like, yeah, not always. And also when we're in session with them and we're helping them with something, and then you look at your own life and it's like, I am not listening to the shit that I'm saying, like at all. So I think that this last 6 months, again, menopause has been kicking my ass for some time now. But I thought I had it under control these last 6 months, right? I was like, all right, I got my hormone replacement therapy, like I'm good. I'm back in the gym. I'm like killing it. And the plan was to, gain more muscle, lose some weight, all of the things. And it was not happening. And what really upset me so much is because back in the day, like if I had a plan, especially when it came to my body or working out or anything like that, I just stuck to the plan and it happened. Like change happened. I could see the change. I felt really good about the change. And now all of the rules don't apply. Like when you get in your midlife, all of the shit that you could do before doesn't work anymore. And I think that that has been the hardest thing for me to deal with that. Like I have to have a completely different game plan from the one that I've always had. And my results are completely different. And my initial reaction was like, I'm about to fall the fuck apart. Like, this is some bullshit. I can't believe this is happening to me. I'm in the gym 4 days a week and I don't see no damn change. Like, what is going on? So I think that I had to embrace that I am different. My body is different. Just about so many things about my life and menopause is different. And how do I embrace those changes? And how do I figure out the new rules? And so now I've been embracing the new rules. And so I've gained 5 pounds of muscle in the last like 3 months. So that's fucking huge because
Hey.
I was like, what is going on? I don't see the changes, but I did a body scan and I'm like, okay, well, I don't see it, but it's there. Right. So I just think that I'm embracing the rules have changed. I'm embracing the new rules and I'm trying to get to a point where I'm okay that I can't control my body in the way that I could before. And that is like huge because you think that like I can control my mind, generally for most of us, right? I can control my body. So these are the things that I can control. And the things that used to be within my control are no longer. And so that has been a huge shift for me. But I am embracing it. I've listened to every podcast, watched every video on menopause women and gaining muscle, and I think I got it now. So we about to see. I'm about to hit it hard these next 6 months. So y'all keep y'all fingers crossed. For me, I'm trying to gain another 5 pounds of muscle. So we're gonna see. But yeah, it's been rough.
I get it. I definitely get that. I've had some shifts in what being an entrepreneur looks like, right? So I was kind of chilling, had a client, and I was like, oh, this is like consistent and easy enough. But with my track record in life, I feel that based on the shakeups, I am not supposed to just like work for somebody or be, enmeshed. Wow, I have been hustling and hustling and hustling and hustling, something serious over the last few months as far as what that looks like and understanding what it means to not just be an entrepreneur, right? I accidentally fell into being an entrepreneur, aka somebody fired me. I needed to make money. I said, fuck it, we're gonna start a
You
business.
figured it out,
Right.
baby.
And it was an ends to a means, right? Like it was just a means to an end, right? Like I need money. This I can do to hustle real quick. Cool. I didn't categorize it as being a business owner. Like, yes, legally on paper, sure. But I was a hustler that had like an LLC as far as I was concerned, right? So now we're in the phase in the season of adjusting to the fact that, like, no, girl, you're actually a business owner and you are able to bring in revenue, you're able to bring in profit and just learning all of those things. And it is like drinking out of a fire hose every day. I am so tired. I have been up and down the throughway more than I would like to admit. But as I tell Kim and I tell my other friend Carlette, hey Car, if you're listening, my struggle montage and my biopic, 10 out of 10. It's gonna be so good. You're gonna see me driving on the throughway. When I got to Mount Vernon, my tire was flat and the people had to replace it at some random place in the Bronx. Me riding on the damn train. Like it's gonna be so good. Like pursuit of happiness levels of good. So that's gonna be great when we get there.
Love
Yes.
it.
I can't wait.
So, Fanny, I'm curious, how did you even get into this work? If you had to identify your why, what is it?
Ooh, how did I get into this work? I think that from an early age, I've always been curious about systems. So my background's in clinical social work. And, I think because I was a child that was an immigrant who lived in a very diverse community with, Black folks, Latino folks, but being Black Latina people, like I was on this margin, right? Like they weren't teaching kids about the diaspora where I was
Not
growing
back
up,
then.
right? So
Mhm.
the Black kids were like, why you speak Spanish? You're not Black. Get out of here, right? And then you
But
also
then you look
had
black, so
but I
it's
look
so
Black, but
confusing.
yeah, they didn't want to talk to me. It would
Mhm.
have been different if I was in the Bronx, probably. But I was in New Rochelle. And they were
Oh,
teaching the kids
girl.
about
Oh
the
yeah, that's
diaspora.
real different from the
It's
Bronx.
Yeah.
very different. But then the Latinos were like, but you're not like us because you're not brown. And I'm like, but
All right.
what? No one wanted to teach you that them either. And so I think I just was always in this in the margins of a lot of different communities, right? And I think being Peruvian, we're a very small percentage of the Peruvian population, and so I think I've always, I think as a survival tactic, have been forced to pay attention to, okay, how am I perceived in this space so that I can get what it is that I need, or why do people treat my mom this way, or why do people talk to my dad that way? And, I think I've always seeked ways to understand the world and human behavior. And I think by the time I got to college, I thought I was going to study psychology. And then, they kept talking about these rats, and I didn't want to talk about these studies with the rats. And then I took a social work class, and they were like, human behavior and like, all these sociological terms. And they talked about child welfare, and they talked about social determinants of health and, poverty. They talked about all these things that affect people, that affect how we behave in a very humanistic way. And yes, the rat studies are very important. They're all part of the work. It's part of the whole ecosystem. And later on, I learned more about all of those experiments because they're all related. But
But
I
people in
think,
their environments, it seemed so
yes,
much more interesting. That's also
yes,
why I just went this route. Yeah, it was just so much more interesting. Psychology in its
exactly.
beginning stages was like, what we doing here? Yeah, this ain't for me.
Yeah, I'm like, can we fast forward to the Freud or something? Like I can't with these little rats.
Shout out to the
So
lab rats.
yeah.
They ain't had no say so, girl.
They're real pioneers. They're real pioneers for humanity. They really are. But yeah, so I think once I started learning about human development from a systemic perspective, a community perspective, I think I really locked in and started learning a lot more about why things are the way they are, and bringing in that my own personal perspective because I lived it. I lived so much of it. Fast forward all of these years, a lot of the women that I realized I was doing a lot of my best work with were tended to be eldest daughters, only daughters, the firsts, the first daughter to do this, the first kid to go to college,
Mm.
right? So I started doing a lot more continuing education on things like birth order, and just realized that there's so much that isn't explored, especially when it comes to multiple factors like race, like gender, like colorism, even within a family system, right? And so I just became
Mm.
so interested in wanting to learn so much about what folks have been studying about that. And then really bringing it into my work as a trauma therapist. A lot of the work that I've done has been in crisis work. I cut my teeth in a psychiatric emergency room working with doctors. It was like ER
Oh, wow.
Mm.
for mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. I mean, people are like, that's so formative and amazing. And I'm like, yes, I was like an adrenaline junkie social worker running around New York City, which is like the best job to have in your 20s. And then at some point in my 30s, I started getting burnt out because, I'm still doing this work within a system that is very broken, right? And we know,
Yes.
what sometimes it feels like a revolving door where you're like, how, am I actually helping? How do I actually get people to a place of stability that lasts? And it's hard to do that within systems where, there's not enough funding, or, they're
Mhm.
not really paying
They
people
don't care
enough to
about the
do that work.
outcome.
Yeah,
Right.
they don't care about the outcome. And so at some point I felt like, okay, I need to start slowing down and catching people at a different point, right? I think the crisis work is always something that I will be able to handle because that threshold is now very, very high. And so there's very little that I haven't heard. There's very little that scares me that people say. It's a true no judgment zone in my office. I think doing some more of this trauma focused work because I think it's very underdiagnosed, right? I think a lot of people think trauma and they think, some of the worst things that could happen to somebody, but really, there's big T trauma and little T trauma, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of us are walking around very traumatized and trauma reacting all over each other, right? We're all doing that to each other. And so I think being able to do a lot of that work with my clients has been so rewarding. And I think just being able to focus on that relationship, that intersection between birth order and trauma, I think is something that it's hard to find. And so I wanted to create that.
Because y'all were
Well,
the
I
guinea
think it's
pigs, the
important.
firstborns, right? Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
baby.
kind of like
Yeah.
Mhm.
They was
what do
just
they
Yeah.
talk
figuring
about
it
that
out.
video, that photo of
We
Queen
were the lab
Latifah?
rats, if you will,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were the lab rats. See, you was
Exactly.
hating on your family. That ain't right.
I know. I
Not
know.
your
I actually,
cousins.
it's yeah, no, it's really funny. I just brought my daughter and her friend, they have these random days off of school, and I was like, you know what, kids, we're going roller skating. I'm gonna take you roller
Oh,
skating.
yes.
So I took them roller skating in Prospect Park, and they're at this age, they're first graders, and they're always like fighting over being the first at something. And they're like, no, I need my tag on and I need you to put on my bracelet. I'm putting on this girl's bracelet. And she's like, I really want to be the first. And I'm putting it on. But of course I put it on wrong. It's like too loose because her wrist is like the size
Just
of a little
small.
ring. And so I'm like, and so she's looking at it like, ew. And I'm like, you fight about being the first, and then sometimes you realize that being the first makes you the experiment. And maybe it's
Mm.
not all cracked up
Not
to be the
always
first.
best.
Oh,
And
you
she's
know
like,
what?
okay.
She's
And
like,
then
I don't
but the people who went
understand.
first don't tell you nothing. They keep it quiet. You're like, why you ain't tell me about this? I didn't shit.
Because because y'all don't get to experience what we experience, and we just looking like, what is this happening over there? This is so fascinating. This was not the life I experienced. So we don't have nothing to say because we're playing in two different games with different set of rules and different coaches.
Mm.
Yeah. I tell my
Yeah,
siblings all the time, we have the same parents, but we weren't raised by the same people. So,
Oh, that is
exactly.
so true. I'm one of seven.
yeah.
So you could imagine there's a 15-year difference between the oldest and the youngest. We did not have the same parents at all, honey.
Yeah. So it's definitely important work. Are there any common themes that come up when you think about the women you work with? Do you notice that firstborns, for example, are probably the most resistant to change? Like, what have you seen?
So I think that a lot of firstborns really struggle with change because
Mm,
you've been burdened, with, setting the example for everybody, right? And
Yes.
so you kind of need stability to be able to thrive, right? And so when there's change, it can be hard to find your footing, right? And I think that's for all the firsts, right? Like not just siblings, but also like if you're
Mhm.
the first of the cousins to go to college and things like that. Like everyone's watching you, and so I think being the first in the family just sets you up for this strong attachment to the positive feedback loop. Like that's kind of
mm,
another thing, right? When we think about even having different kinds of parents in one parent, right? Is like when you are one of the first at something, right? You often get a lot of positive reinforcement, a lot of praise, right? And then, you tend to get attached to that, right? Like that feels like a stable place to feel like, yeah, I'm doing it right. Okay, I'm going to keep doing it because it feels good to be
Mhm.
told that I'm doing a good job and I'm getting that attention. People have been rooting for you since day one, right? And so if that goes away, then it turns into where do I find that validation? If I'm not going to be the exceptional one or if I'm not going to be the first. And so oftentimes you really struggle with change because you're destabilized from oftentimes the foundation that energizes you, that keeps you going.
She's right, y'all.
Hmm. You
Okay,
know what's
firstborn
interesting?
over there, because I'm definitely not
Yeah.
it. So,
But you know what's interesting? I'm a middle child, but I have two brothers, 9 years. One is 9 years older than me. One is 9 years younger than me. My oldest brother was not raised with me. He was raised in South Carolina with my grandparents. So he would come up during the summers, but like it was kind of like I was like, she didn't raise you. Your grandparents raised you. So I feel like I was kind of like the first, and I was the girl, and it was kind of confusing because I was like, I got a brother. Like, what am I doing here? I didn't feel like that. And then I helped her
Uh,
co-parent her second boy, and I was like, oh, Encanto. This is going on here right now.
yeah,
We
What?
don't talk about Bruno.
yeah.
The drip, 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 you know?
I think especially based on birth order theory, right? Something people don't often know is that the birth order resets every 4 years, every 4-year gap. And so if there's a huge gap between siblings, you are the
It's
first.
nine. Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
Wow.
very
so
interesting.
you're the first, and if there's a big gap between your older and your younger, you very much likely would have had an only child experience
Yeah,
because
Mhm.
of those
exactly.
years, those formative
Right.
years. And so it makes sense to, have this kind of interesting relationship with a sibling where it's like we're siblings, but I also don't have this very traditional sibling
Right.
relationship. And also with you being the only girl, right?
Right.
Girls are treated very differently than boys. The expectations very different. You're given a lot more responsibilities in ways
Yeah.
that
I
people
gotta be
don't
raising
acknowledge.
9-year-old, a baby, and I'm
Yeah,
nine. What are we doing here?
exactly. And so it makes sense. It makes sense that you ended up co-parenting.
Mhm.
Yes. It was wild. That's why I said I never wanted to have children. I know why. I was outside with a baby. Like, I
That
gotta get
might
you
be
to
small
school.
T trauma or big T trauma.
No, that was big T. That was big T. But it could have been worse because it could have been a bunch of kids that some of these girls,
Right.
they be like, oh, they think these are your kids because you got them all the time. No, thank you.
Woody.
Oh,
Wow.
love
Oh.
it.
So I think for me as a therapist in my practice, when I think that when people come in, they think that they're struggling with change when they're actually struggling with uncertainty. So that's what I've noticed a lot. Most people can handle hard things, but what they struggle with is not knowing how things will work out, right? So our brains are hardwired kind of to seek predictability because predictability often feels safe. So when life changes unexpectedly, many people kind of try to regain control through I've noticed people try to like overthink, a little perfectionism, a little avoidance, a lot of anxiety. So when we're kind of talking about change, I'm trying to help my clients kind of focus more on controlling the outcomes and more on kind of increasing their capacity to tolerate uncertainty. So I think for most of us, it's not always about change, it's about uncertainty. So I try to help people, I guess, kind of figure out, well, what can you control and what can't you control, right? And like, how do we work on trusting yourself and kind of staying present? I do think that change is a big thing that people come to therapy to discuss because for the most part, you'll hear a lot of people say this, and I'm pretty sure you've met people be like, I don't do well with change. And I don't think it's really change. I just think that people don't do well when they don't know how things are going to turn out. I think that change is something that people will always talk about. And I try to remind people that they're like super flexible, right? And that things generally will work out, but you got to trust yourself. And I think the trust is in people feeling safe and knowing that they can deal with the uncertain things that kind of come around. Change is a big thing for people.
You know what's interesting? That just made me think about the fact that I had to start telling myself, like, given all the experiences you had in this world and people you've encountered, like, you do have the answer. Like, I have lived a life that is so, like, different, full, like, the way I've grown up. Maybe a lot of people haven't, but, like, actually much more capable than some adults who've grown up in very, like, I don't want to say coddled situations, but like, I was outside at three, not three, but like I was outside at like six by myself because it was the time of, history where you could do that. And so, fear of outside and all those other things, I don't really have that. I think relying on myself a lot more than others who look to others for answers. I think I've noticed that about myself a lot. Like, I wouldn't do it that way, but that's you. That's how you grew up. Like how I grew up, like I got it, I can handle this. I can do that. So, and this is really cool. Thank you for that because I think this is really great. Probably got a lot of first daughters that listen to us, or the ones who are carrying the load, the family, friend, the emotional labor, everything. I think that's also like a black woman's story in some regard too. It's not about first daughter, it's just about this is who you are. This is what's given to you. Now, the armadillo. The armadillo keeps coming back. Armadillo carrying all the little ones. So I think I want to get to like the gathering, right? Like how do we get people together? So I love that how you describe your gatherings and your events, right? Curated. Joy-centered social gatherings that invite women to expand beyond inherited roles and expectations through salon-style reflection, community, and honest dialogue. That just speaks to every part of me, and I think that just speaks to what a lot of women are seeking when they're looking for community, right? Like they just don't ask me what I do. Let me show you who I am, right? Because our titles walk into the room, and that's what people expect of us, or they want that from us. So, what kind of gatherings are you doing, and what can someone expect if they were to attend? Because it sounds fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So my salon series, it's called the Slowdown, which is something that I really that came out of that burnout recovery journey because I took a little trip, visited some friends, and just had a wonderful time lying around and doing things, right? Taking long walks, long dinners, long conversations. And so I wanted to create a series of talks that are just about slowing down the conversation. And so I want to get women together to speak in draft about the types of things that have impacts on our lives. I think life has sped up so fast, right? I think because of the way that technology is and the way that things keep moving, I think we're all rushed. We're all rushed to think, rushed to respond. We're always missing out on something if we don't keep up, right? And I think especially with the ways that we are used to consuming information, we tend to be told what to think, right? We're told what matters, right? And when I have these salons, I really create an environment in which I present a topic that everybody wants to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and I put a systems perspective to it. It usually has something to do with the way that we were raised, patriarchy, capitalism, all the isms, right? And I usually give folks a bit of a container or a framework for my perspective of how we got here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I really open up the floor for women to speak openly about what sits with them as they hear what I have to say. I usually bring in a guest expert. So usually it's a colleague, a fellow therapist, or someone in health and wellness that I trust very much. And we will facilitate that conversation together, right? Because I have such wonderful colleagues who their focus is just on that thing because it's something they're very passionate about. And so being able to have these therapist led conversations that isn't necessarily therapy, but is a contained conversation about speaking about the things that really impact you the most. So, for example, in May, we had one that was about moms, and it was called More Than a Mom because I wanted mothers to speak honestly about how sometimes the motherhood journey is all encapsulating and has
Mm-hmm.
taken over sometimes, and that sometimes you lose yourself, you lose parts of your identity, even if you love being a mother, right? And what does that mean? And how did we get here? I did one on the Good Girl script a few months ago, all and really getting women to deconstruct these ideas of themselves about how they have to be the good girl, even though they're grown. But
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes it's hard to let go of that good girl script and how it's impacted their lives, right? And so, how do we start to question some of that so we can live more aligned lives based on what we want, not what the people who raised us wanted? And so, we're just really creating space for women to explore all of these themes that people talk about all the time, right? But I think is deserving of more space than the comment section, on a
Right.
90-second
Mm.
reel on Instagram, right? Where someone's just making a declaration of this is how things should be. And if people do this, then that means this. And, I think that there's just so much more context to our lives that is deserving of a little bit more space to breathe and for us to be able to learn from each other in our own processes to get to the conclusions that we want to get to. I think a lot of people don't know what to think about things. I think oftentimes we're told what to think, or we feel like we need to perform thinking about things a certain way because I will get, ostracized for thinking differently about it. And I think it really forces us to lose, the diversity of thought that really
Mm-hmm.
allows us to be able to be true to the things that we want in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you for that. If you could give one piece of advice to someone listening right now who may be struggling to adopt a change, an unexpected change, what would you share?
I would say be open to the possibility that no matter what your big age is, that you don't know everything, right? You don't know every scenario that could be playing out in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the moment that you anchor yourself in how things are supposed to look, how things are supposed to be, right? And they're not turning out the way that you expected. I think the more you do that, the more you really miss the opportunities of something different that can actually have a positive impact on your life, right? It can be right in front of you, but all you see is what you think of as the failures and not the opportunities to learn something new. So stay
Awesome.
open.
I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Fanny.
Thank you for engaging in that conversation. So I do have a quick little game. It is called the pivot point. It is not in the show notes, so it is for the element of surprise. It's nothing crazy, y'all. I'm just going to give you some scenarios and just get a quick take on what you would do. So it's very what's that man name? John, whatever, on What Would You Do on TV? So that's what we're gonna do.
John Quinones.
Yeah, John Quinones. Yes. We're gonna start with scenario one, the career crisis.
Ooh.
You have realized that your current career path no longer aligns with your values, but you are halfway through a major project. What do you do? Do you stick it out? Do you say, get me up out of here? I can't do this shit no more. What you gonna do? How are you gonna handle this change? Whoever wants
I'm
to go
sticking it
first.
out.
You're
I'm
sticking it out.
halfway through. I want to see it to the end. I'll do the best that I can, but I'm sticking it out. Yeah, I'm not quitting.
The conditioning says stick it out. I've never left anything. That's crazy. It's crazy. Gotta finish
Fanny,
it to the end.
what would you do?
I agree. I feel like I would stick it out. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, maybe I have to finish, you know.
Even if you're having panic attacks, even if it is now
Well,
impacting
now
your
you
health.
adding some new stuff,
Yeah,
Marquia.
that wasn't in the
You didn't
original
add all that
scenario.
before in your
I would
I'm
still
scenario.
stick it
asking.
out. I would go to happy hour. Like, oh girl, I gotta
Well, I'm
finish
gonna go to
this.
my therapist and be like, okay, this is what's going on. How do we help me so I can work through this and get to the end? Yeah, maybe I need to really talk to somebody about helping me maybe see it differently, right? Because the way that I'm seeing it doesn't mean that that is the way that it is. So I'm definitely going for guidance to kind of help me figure it out. But I'm probably going to try my best to stick it out, to see it to the end.
Having stuck it out before, I would leave. Writings on
That's
the wall.
right, girl.
Get up out of there. That's why I asked about the
Okay.
panic attack thing. I did choose the stick it out path, and it cost me a piece of my soul and my brain for sure. Next up, the friendship fade. A
Okay.
longtime friend starts to feel one-sided and draining. Now, do you pivot and have a difficult conversation and boundary setting, or do you just let the situation continue on in an effort to keep the peace?
Oh, I'm not keeping no peace. I'm not a difficult situation. We're gonna have I don't have a problem with hard conversations, but also if this is negatively impacting me, I am definitely not letting it continue. So that is a very clear one. We not letting this continue. I thought you was gonna say, am I just gonna leave the relationship? That's very different, but I still wouldn't want to do that if it's a long-term relationship. I really believe in friendship, and so I'll try to stick it out. But yeah, we're gonna have a hard conversation. I'm not gonna let you just do or say or treat me any type of way. Heck no.
Kim, what you doing?
I don't know. I have a big container for all sorts of fuckery and tomfoolery. Let me say that. People be doing all sorts of stuff. People like, why are you friends with that person? I like them. It's very bizarre. A lot of people be like, you friends with this person? I don't like them. I'm like, all right, well, they don't like you back. So fuck it then. We here. Like, you don't like them, they don't like you. They're my friend. You're my friend. Let it go. Move on. We move on. I don't talk to you about them. You talk to me about let it go. So, it's very odd the way it's going. It's like, what's happening? So maybe I like opposites in people.
Fanny, what about you?
I mean, I really believe in people's, like, I want to give people the opportunity to rise to the occasion, right? Like, I can't assume that people know how I feel, right? And so if someone's going through something or, things are shifting or we're growing apart, you know, I think to be able to have an acknowledgement that things are different, I think is actually important in maintaining the foundation of that relationship, right? Because I think oftentimes people will just like fight to keep things the same, but That's not human behavior. We are forever evolving. And I think the hardest part of any type of relationship is growing together, right? It's hard to grow together, romance, friendship, every kind of relationship. And so I think when things are shifting or you're feeling like, okay, girl, you might be going through something, and I know that, but also, you haven't asked me anything about how things have been going. Or I feel like when you do, it's like an afterthought because you realize you haven't asked me, like, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on, and really make it an opportunity to reconnect. I think a lot of people ghost too much, ghosting and
Mm-hmm.
leaving people on,
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
I think it's an extreme response to that should be reserved for extreme situations. And
I would
so
agree.
oftentimes, we're just avoiding. And when we think about the idea of doing it to keep the peace, it's like it only works for so long, right? Like something
The
else
Band-Aid.
happens and
And it's
oftentimes
not
it's worse.
really peace, right? Because there's an internal conflict that you're having, just so you don't have to have the external conflict. That internal conflict is no joke. We're gonna have to have this conversation.
What about ghosting people you don't know that well? Like you just met them
Ghosting
one
is
night, a
never
couple
good.
times.
You could literally just
But
say,
I
this
like
doesn't
if
work
you
for me, gotta go
owe
bye.
somebody
Right.
something, like I don't know you like that. I don't owe you
But you can say,
nothing.
Right,
I
but
don't want to talk
you
to you
can
anymore.
easily just say I'm no
Goodbye.
longer interested. You're not a good
Mm,
fit for my life.
Nothing.
mm.
Because ghosting doesn't feel good. I wouldn't want anyone to do it to
Ghosting is
me, which
actually
is why
traumatizing.
I would rather just tell someone that I'm not interested. I think it just is easier, and I think it's good practice for all of us. We have to learn
If
how
I
to
met
have
you
hard
one night and I went on
conversations.
one date with you, I don't feel like I owe you anything. I'm gonna be
Well, when
honest.
you
I don't feel like I owe you
so
nothing.
when you call me,
Ooh.
I can just say, "Hey, I had a
I'll
good
be
time, but
blocking
I'm
them.
not interested."
I block. I'm good.
Oh God.
Sorry.
Okay, well,
You know, let me
we'll have
keep
a
my thoughts
conversation
to
about the
myself.
block
You
party.
already know this about me. You know this about me because you always like, why? I
And we
don't.
always have the
uh,
same conversation, so we're not going to do it on the podcast. You know how I feel.
Yeah, we'll talk about your block parties later. For the last one,
Block party.
um,
Listen, this the MJ meets Spike.
the perfectionist trap. You are working on a project, it's getting to the deadline, and you've accepted that it's good enough. But your inner perfectionist wants to redo it all. We're talking like night before. Do you pivot to launching it as is, or do you scrap it and start all over again to get it perfect?
I'm not scrapping it. I'm going to need a middle ground, maybe. Right? Like maybe I could add some extra stuff, make it a little bit better. But the night before, the way this menopause brain works, ain't no starting all over. I will have a full on meltdown. That's not happening. I might call a lifeline and be like, "Hey, what do you think? How can I make it a little better? Any thoughts? Maybe a little chat GPT help." But what we're not gonna do is scrap it all in the middle of the night with my menopause brain. It ain't happening. Who's up?
Scrapped it. Like, you know what? Sometimes starting all over, if it don't fit and it don't feel good, like this don't, that is, of course, that is the perfectionist, right? Like, because they don't know what they get is good enough, and in your mind, it's not. So I would scrap if I really just was like, I hate this. I gotta scrap it. I'm not gonna feel good.
Fanny.
A coach once told me that perfectionism is a broke ass mindset,
Oh, okay.
and you're just
That
not
one
gonna
is new. I
advance.
like that one.
Yeah, yeah, it's a broke ass mindset. And it is like every time I just, watch the P's and Q's of every little thing, I get tired and then I don't have the energy that I need for the other things, right? Like I think something that I've learned, going into my 40s is my time and my energy are not infinite. And I got to stop acting as if it's just a bottomless pit of
Mm.
time and effort because it's not. And I think when I really get into the perfectionism of it all, yeah, I'm obsessing over all of these little things that's taking up energy and taking up time. And then the quality of things isn't as good, which creates another loop of perfectionism of now I got to get this right. And what was I even talking about doing this? And it's just not worth it. And you need to just put it out there, right? Even the New York Times makes typos. Okay.
That's real.
Right? Like you just get it out there.
Right?
Like
Sometimes
Mm.
gotta
scripts,
be
right?
good
Like
enough.
every word is not going to be needed to be understood. So
I'll accept that. I'll think about that. I'm assuming that was a black coach that told you that, because when to say a broke ass mindset, that was giving of color.
Yes, it was.
But yes, thank you all for playing a little game. Appreciate you. And as we prepare to wind things down, of course, we always got to leave you with some tips and tools. And since we have a guest that specializes in things we were talking about, Miss Fanny, would you like to share your tips and tools?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if women are out there looking for someone to really help them understand the systems that influence the way that they are, that have them really in this self-sabotage cycle, right? I think coming to restorative space is a good place for that. I also run groups for Black women. And so oftentimes women who are struggling with things like building trust with others, really be able to take supportive feedback, how to give supportive feedback, right? Being able to understand what it is to be in a safe community of women where the safety is in communication and the safety is in the diversity of all of our backgrounds, right? I think some of the wonderful things about affinity spaces in general, especially for Black women, is that when we go out in the world, we're like all like one, we're all out here trying to fight white supremacy, right? So we're this kind of united front in certain ways, even though we're all different, right? But then we get
Mhm.
into these affinity spaces, and I feel like that's when we actually get to be ourselves
Right.
completely, right? And all of our diversity, right? Because we're not having to face that. We're not having to fight with that. And so I think a lot of women have joined my groups at Restorative Space for that reason, to be able to really heal that part of themselves that caused them to not feel like they can trust other
Mhm.
women or be able to put themselves out there without scrutiny.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And we'll get you all her info, where to find her, and get in touch with her so you can make sure you have access to those things. One tip I'm going to definitely suggest is a control audit. As a control freak, I am not even going to act like I'm not. I would say I'm like, I don't even know if I'm recovering. I'm just working through, right? Recognize that holding on to control is often just a tool to manage your anxiety. It's all perception. It's actually not real. You're not in control of anything. So when your plan shifts, ask yourself, is my rigidity protecting me or is it preventing me from adapting? I'm going to always initially err on protecting personally, but as you step back and look at it and you're honest with yourself, sometimes that commitment to knowing every little thing is actually hindering you. One quick aside, I'm in a like a women's incubator program that someone said you should apply to this. I didn't do my usual vetting. I didn't read nothing. It was very just okay. And it ended up being such a great opportunity for connections and the like. So sometimes you don't need to know every single thing, but it's also okay if you feel like you need to, because life is hard and sometimes you just need to know shit. Okay, next person.
I think I would go with the good enough pivot, right? Perfectionism is the enemy of flexibility. So when life disrupts your plans, you just got to pivot to good enough version of the goal rather than abandoning it entirely. That is my claim to fame. I'm not abandoning it. We got to go with good enough. Progress is always better than paralysis. I've had some perfectionism over the years and it just doesn't work for me. So I'm really in a place where good enough is enough for me. So, and I try to help my clients see that as well.
I like the villain. We had a villain episode, so it came back. Protecting your
Um,
peace, right, requires setting boundaries that others might label as unfair or villainous. So setting a boundary is not about being mean. It's about being the hero of your own mental health and conserving your energy. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, for today's conversation. I appreciate you all sharing your thoughts and indulging in the pivot point. A huge, huge thank you to our guest, Fanny Tristan. Fanny, please tell all of our listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube. You can search Fanny Tristan, LCSW. You can also go to my psychotherapy website if you're interested in doing some trauma work or joining a group for Black women at restority.space. And if you are looking to join a salon or do some community events in New York City, you can go to hersoulsupply.com.
Awesome. And we'll also put those in the show notes for you all to go ahead and check out our girl Fanny. Thank you again to everyone for sticking with us as we took a very long hiatus. We sorry, y'all. And be sure to follow us on social media at Black Women Be Whole. And if you don't have one already, consider grabbing a playbook. Be sure you tag us when you get it, and we will talk with you soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Fanny, for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Black Women Be Whole podcast. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can find us on Instagram at Black Women Be Whole, on Facebook at Black Women Be Whole. You can even go to our website, blackwomenbewhole.com, where you can join our mailing list and you can find out what we're doing as far as events, where we'll be, if we're vending. You can also get a heads up on any information about upcoming podcasts and any product releases we're having. We appreciate you, sis. We'll see you next time.